Square Enix is celebrating the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Not only do I feel like I'm just crumbling to dust right before your very eyes, while the last words from my mouth are going to be, Crisis Core is getting remade! And then I just turn to dust, and that's really it, and I don't even get to experience that shit. Heart-wrenching as it may be, but the idea that a quarter of a century has passed and we're still celebrating this motherfucking game. Because it's a monumental feat, let's be honest. Final Fantasy VII, regardless of how overhyped and how oversaturated and how, again, just like many other franchises out there, it's the golden teat that keeps on giving, so Square Enix is going to keep on going to that farm with pail in hand, and it's just going to keep on milking and milking and milking. And this entire presentation was absolutely that and then some. But the Crisis Core remake? Look, we're getting Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core Reunion. Well, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, but you already get my point. We're getting that shit, and I never thought this would happen. Never in a million years, because I already knew that there was all that shit between GAC and Square Enix, and I was just like, so this is just going to be relegated to the PSP library exclusively and just remain there from now until the end of time. And we're never going to see that shit. And then all of a sudden, this pops up. I mean, we were waiting for part 2 to the Final Fantasy VII Remake series, and then this came up, and that just pushed its way to the front of the line for me, and I was just like, all aboard this fucking hype train, Doom train maybe, but that's FF8, and we'll have to wait for a long time before that gets a remake. This shit, activating combat mode, I can hear it just ringing off in my head, and I was just like, oh yes, oh my yes. Seeing all the side-by-side comparison screenshots of this shit, dude, it made me so fucking happy. I mean, look, PSP was a powerhouse of a handheld and has an incredible library. Crisis Core, to me, was the reason why I wanted a PSP, and initially it was the only game that I had on it, but that's why I bought it. I mean, gut-wrenching ending, being able to go back through certain areas within Final Fantasy VII and see them done up the way that they were, just getting a whole lot more backstory on plenty of characters, as well as being introduced to a whole slew of others. I was just like, this! Give me more of this! And now, you know, all these years later, we've been given so many different things that were related to the Final Fantasy VII universe. I'm just like, okay, no, we can do this shit all day. But seeing Angeal and Genesis and Zack Fair is fucking awesome. Let's get this out of the way. Zack Fair, greater than Cloud Strife. You can be mad all you want, but he's a better hero. Honestly, I just found him more likable. I love the fuck out of him. And there has not been many people that I sat there like verbally out loud shouting that I wanted them to be able to achieve their goals, to succeed. I wanted them to be able to push through, to power through and actually overcome the obstacles in front of them. And I did that when I played through Crisis Core. I mean, honestly, it just broke my fucking heart, and I knew what was going to happen. I already knew, because I played Final Fantasy VII, what, a million different times? So I knew. But this, now all of a sudden, they're going to be doing this shit and even more beautiful graphics, and I'm just gonna be like, you can't fucking do this to me. I mean, you can because my wallet allowed it, but still, and I'm making time for it, so really, I guess I'm just a glutton for punishment, and that's what it's going to be. And I don't care. I will play through this again happily. Hell, it's actually made me want to go and play back through the original just so that this winter, because that's when that shit's coming out, this winter when that shit drops, and on my Christmas list by the way, I will be able to go and appreciate everything about this, including any of the new additions to it or any of the minor changes. I have no idea what all they're going to be messing with, but it's going to be incredible. It's just one of those things, like, seeing the reels back in action, I was just like, I fucking love that so much. Seeing that the combat is very reminiscent to Final Fantasy VII Remake, I was just like, okay, wasn't expecting that. But this works because it's just going to be a seamless transition for plenty of people out there. And this shit's going to be dropping on every single platform. PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Steam, Nintendo Switch. So everybody's going to have the prequel to Final Fantasy VII on all those platforms. We already have Final Fantasy VII, so you got the prequel, you got the original, though not many of us are going to be able to play the remake's sequel, because that shit's only on PlayStation 5. and then it originally was on PlayStation 4, and then it's just, holy fuck, it's all over the place right now. Some of the deals that they sit there and shake hands on, I'm just like, you know, you make this so fucking difficult. Just put it on everything that you possibly can, please, for the love of motherfucking God. For all things just related to Genova, make this shit happen, please. But still, it was an incredible looking trailer. Like, it was. It had me hyped, it had me smiling. I sat there chatting with my two best friends that I grew up playing Final Fantasy VII with, and we were talking about this, and it was just one of those things we not only were super ecstatic for, but we were surprised. Like, I didn't think that this would end up happening. I was expecting nothing but mobile games and some stupid ass like arbitrary announcements, and then the sequel to Final Fantasy VII Remake, the second portion of it. That's what I was expecting. This just took over my entire fucking brain. Like, my monkey brain just went off with, yes! Yes! Like, I needed it. I did. And it was cool. Just, like, seeing the summons and shit. Seeing Zack. Though, was it me, or was his voice actor different? And if that's the case, who all are they changing the voice actors for? And I can't wait to see that three-way dance between Angeal, Sephiroth, and Zack, wait, no. It was Genesis, Sephiroth, and Angeal. I need to see that shit happen all over again. It's just, goddamn, does it make me happy, like, just knowing that I'm going to be able to re-experience this again, and just done up to the nines, seeing all these characters look even more beautiful than they already looked in their admittedly much lower polygonal forms on the PSP, even though that shit is still extraordinary looking, especially if you emulate that and you decide to put all the bells and whistles in. Mwah, chef's kiss right there. And while I could sit here smiling from ear to ear, praising the living shit out of Square Enix for giving us Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion, and just heaping ejaculatory-like praise all over its face until the cows come home, we should talk about Rebirth. Look, Final Fantasy VII Remake was a huge fucking deal, but we kept on wondering, we were chomping at the bit, when are we going to get more information about this? When are they going to even drop a nugget of info? We kept wondering, a trailer, a screenshot, anything? They gave us a whole lot just with this. We got interviews thereafter, and I was just like, finally, praise be to the fucking gods out there. This was the type of shit that I was wondering about, and they delivered. So, we're going to see the second installment to the Final Fantasy VII Remake series next winter. So not this winter. This winter, we're getting Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Next year, next winter, that's when we're getting the second installment to this. And something I thought was interesting, and admittedly made me smile a whole bunch, but they said that this was going to be a 3-part series. So, we got 3, and that reminds me, we had 3 discs on Final Fantasy VII. Originally, I kind of liked that. I thought it was kind of cool, but it made me wonder, is this going to be a gargantuan game? The overwhelming majority of people out there who played the OG game knows that Disc 2 contained the majority of the game. Like, that's where you ran around and did most of your shit, and it was extremely cool because so much stuff went down on that disc. I mean, again, the majority of the story happens on Disc 2, and it made me wonder, what all are they going to be doing with this? Are we going to be seeing a world map, for example? And I know that Tetsuya Nomura has gone on into plenty of interviews and has kind of stressed the fact that he wants this to be a new experience. And for any longtime fan out there, they're just jaded as shit, and understandably so, because I'm kind of in that exact group where I'm just like, I just want the same game with a whole lot more, translated a little bit better, with voice acting, and done up to the nines with modern hardware advancements. That's the kind of shit. And I know people can say, just play the original, it's there. Yes, I already fucking know that. Play with HD mods. Yes, I already have, and it's fucking amazing, by the way. You should play the OG Final Fantasy VII with mods. Holy fuck, it's amazing. But this, it's a point of contention amongst the entire fan base now, and I don't think that it helps that there's like this big wait period between everything. I mean, the diehards are obviously going to pick it up and it's going to sell millions, but it's just one of those things where you're like, man, I just want it all right now. Hell, I've met plenty of people that had said, I'm not buying that shit until it's completely done, one package I can just go and play the game, and I don't really blame them. Like, it's just... I'm a diehard, and I want to play it. Like, I platinumed that shit when it came out. I played it so fucking much. And then, out of nowhere, they're just like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Yeah, it's gonna be on Steam. Right fucking now. So we're just like, well, hold on. What? And they're just like, oh yeah, no, go download it. And now I kind of want to, because I still don't have a PS5. Yes, I realize, like, look, I don't want to pay any of the fucking secondhand prices, and I sure as shit am not going and finding it in stores anywhere, because I've looked a billion fucking times. It's annoying as shit, because I'm still just like, I need to upgrade my graphics card, I need a PlayStation 5, and they're just like, hey, Yuffie's got her own storyline within Final Fantasy VII Remake, but it's only on PlayStation 5, and you only have it on PS4, and I'm just like, you're fucking killing me! He's just, for the love of God, if I'm doing this, I don't need Sephiroth to stab me right through my fucking chest cavity, so maybe that's not going to happen. Though I do have the little figures there depicting exactly that. But it was cool watching this footage, and to be honest, there really wasn't a whole lot that they gave us. Like, a lot of it was more dialogue driven, from the things that you heard Cloud saying, and you heard Aerith, yes, Aerith, whatever you want to go in and call her, that's another thing to everybody. You're gonna see two sides just waging war on one another. It's Aerith! No, it's Aerith! And then just... And then there's the other people who are like, I didn't level her, fuck that bitch. And then there's also the people who are on the opposite side they made her much hotter and much more likable. Fuck you, time to simp. And then just, calm. Everybody calm down. Let's just embrace our love of Final Fantasy VII together, except for that won't happen because Final Fantasy fans always bicker and argue amongst one another. It's kind of hilarious, to be honest. But anyway, back to the point. We got to see Cloud and Sephiroth going and walking around, and I was just like, oh shit. We're going to be seeing, like, Sephiroth absolutely losing his shit over his mother. We're going, oh my god, the fire? It's all happening. It's happening, folks. We're going to be going outside of the walls of Midgar. We're going to go everywhere, right? Like, is there going to be a world map? There should be a world map. God damn it, I want a fucking world map. Just give me one. It makes sense to connect everything together, but I don't honestly believe that they will have that. I think that they'll have, like, some other way to connect all the different cities together, but I do want a world map. I love the idea of adventuring and having all these different side quests and shit. It would be nice. Like, look, it's just something that I truly appreciate. Just, it needs to happen. It really, really does. But, it probably won't. Frown. Just big frown. But, despite the long and hefty wait that we'll be having for this, the idea that we're going to be seeing all this crazy shit go down that never happened in the original, and I don't, like, I get worried about, like, what all I should say without spoiling shit, but it's just, like, you already got to see in the footage there that Zack is going to play a very big part in this, which, admittedly, if you played this too, Final Fantasy VII, and you did certain things, you got to see a whole lot of Zack within that, and I like the idea that he is going to be very important to this, and there's other characters that we don't know about that'll be showing up in this, and if you played Intergrade, you already know that there's characters from that are going to obviously be showing up in this, and this is probably going to be tying into Crisis Core, and there's going to be callbacks, and then call forwards to shit, and it doesn't help the fact that they are doing all sorts of crazy shit that we won't be expecting. Like, Nomura's going out of his way to make this shit some unexpected events that you're just like, oh, huh. I wasn't, no. I'm going to Golden Saucer to just relieve some stress, and I need that. As a matter of fact, I was, on Twitter, I was talking about it, Golden Saucer had better be in this with Icarus Lives. Watch his channel, by the way, Doom Mod Madness, fucking incredible. But this Golden Saucer was a huge fucking deal. I mean, there's so many different towns that you get to visit. I just kept on thinking, like, give me Cid Highwind. Please give me Cid. Cid's one of my favorite characters that they ever had in the Final Fantasy series, and yes, I know there's many Cids, but I'm talking about Cid motherfucking Highwind. Where's my goddamn fucking tea? This man is the shit. Like, I love him. We could be seeing Vincent. Again, would be really fucking cool. Maybe they could actually remake Dirge of Cerberus and make it a competent game. That'd be fucking wonderful. There's somebody typing right now. Actually, it is a really good game. I don't think that you actually appreciate the underlying tones to it. Shut the fuck up, you nerd. Look, I just want all this stuff to come together. They might as well go and capitalize on it because, I mean, they kind of are in a really big way. They're just like, dump it all out. Final Fantasy VII, everything. We're doing this shit all day, folks. And I don't really blame them because money. Here comes the money! Have Shane O'Mac, but just kind of put like Sephiroth at, no. We could actually, we could go and put Mr. Shinra there. No, Rufus. Yeah, no, that'd be even better. Fuck it, it doesn't matter who we put there. There was something that I did notice about this, though. And that was, they did something that I wasn't really expecting, and they showed off a younger version of Sephiroth. My brain's going all over the place, but sorry about that. But they showed off a younger version of Sephiroth, and I was just like, hold up. At first, I was like, oh, that's Kadash, right? Because, I mean, we were already doing callbacks to Advent Children whenever they did Integrate, and I was just like, okay, so it's Kadash. And I was like, no, wait a minute. Ever Crisis is actually going to have a backstory to Final Fantasy VII. You might be like, Alpha, what the fuck is Ever Crisis? Ever Crisis is one of the other games that they showed off during this anniversary that I didn't really feel like talking about all that much because it's on the mobile platform, and mobile platforms really can just eat a big bag of fucking dicks, complete with micro-dick transactions. I don't want to fucking deal with any of that shit, and it doesn't interest me. But the idea that they are remaking Final Fantasy VII and include... It's weird, because it's like... It's Final Fantasy VII, pseudo-remade, but isn't like this Final Fantasy VII remake. This is like trying to tell somebody, oh, you want to get into comic books? You want to read Batman? Where do I start? Fuck it. Year one? It's... Maybe? It's just... What about Batman number 1? Which number 1? There's like 20. It's just... Fuck. Anyway, it's one of the reasons why I like reading manga, because it's like, you know where you start? Volume 1. Boom! And that's all that she wrote. But anyway, going back to this, so Ever Crisis is going to have backstory for young Sephiroth. I was just like, young Sephiroth? Like, little boy Sephiroth? This motherfucker actually had a sword too! Like, I was just... Where the fuck did all this come from? And that's going to be playing a role into all this? I'm just... What? Again, surprised, shocked, awe, I had all that shit just wash over me. It just... they also showed off things for First Soldier. I'll be completely honest, I do not give even a microcosm of a fuck. You couldn't give me a shred of a fuck. You remember with that one cartoon that Mickey, he's slicing that piece of bread or cheese or whatever the fuck it was, and it was so paper thin you could see right through it? The fucks that I give are thinner and smaller than that in every single conceivable, measurable way. It's just, I don't care. Because, I'm like, it's really just some kind of bastardization of the Final Fantasy series, and it's wearing its trappings and its skin, and it's just like, don't you want to go and play this? No, not fucking really. I really don't. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is going to give us a chance to go through Kalm, to go through Nibelheim, to go through Mount Nibel, which we already got to see the footage of Cloud and Sephiroth just go and waltzing around talking about shit while they just adventure about, and we don't even know how that shit's going to play out. We'll get to see Rocket Town. I mean, this is, again, there's just so many different areas I can't wait to go and explore. I mean, I just want to see all these characters back again. I'm kind of curious. Kate Sith, I really want to know. Like, I feel like that's a character that they might just go pluck from and just gone, just off in a way. Because if you took Kate Sith out of the game, really, you're not really missing a whole lot. There's gonna be somebody who's just like, I'm a Kate Sith Defender, how dare you? And someone's gonna change their username to Kate Sith Defender, like, you know, FFVII, and just, no, Alpha, you're a really bad person. Look, I'm not a bad person for not liking that fucking character. I didn't give a fuck whenever it was just like that supposed sad moment. You're like, no. Don't care. Fuck them, just don't need it. Take the rocket from Rocket Town that Sid couldn't actually get that shit into space at first and just right up Kate Sith's stuffed ass. Anyhow, point being is, I am fucking stoked for all the areas that I want to go back to within this, but I'm just wondering to myself, how much of this shit is going to be changed? How much of it's actually going to exist? Because there's certain areas they might omit. They might just go and take them out and be like, we're not including that. We're going in this direction with it. So be prepared for that inevitability, because it's probably going to happen where there's areas that they just don't feel the need to include. Like, and that saddens me, but I've kind of accepted that, because I'm just like, Nomura wants to do this shit his way. We already know, like, after you get to the end of FF7 Remake, you realize, like, oh yeah, the next part, they're just going balls out, doing whatever the fuck that they want. So it could just be some crazy ass shit. All of this could just be some kind of fever dream. I mean, for fuck's sake, we're talking about multiple timelines and just like all sorts of different shit, and we're just... It's fucking insanity. It is. It's just like he decided to go and tap into the part of his brain that writes up all the Kingdom Hearts lore, and he was just like, oh, fuck yeah, let's do this, baby. No! It's just like, dude. He's just, and you know, he's saying like, oh, it's Genova cells. Oh, I'm so fucking strong. Just calm down. It's, no, don't do that. But I'm excited about these announcements. Sure, I really don't give a shit about, like, you know, their multiplayer action game, and I don't give a shit about their episodic little pseudo remake of FF7 that's going to be coming out, but I do give a shit about Crisis Core, and I do give a shit about Rebirth. Those were the two main things that I was there for, and boom, delivered, happy as fucking shit. But by all means, share whatever opinions that you want to down in the comments section. That's why it's there, so you can go and type and stuff. And again, I want to say it is very, very good to be back, and I'm glad that I get to sit here and talk about all this shit with you and geek out with everybody. And if you haven't checked out my other videos, I talked about Resident Evil 2, I talked about the successor to Dead Space. It's a really big deal because I love all this shit, and yes, I am going to be working on long form reviews on a secondary channel because I don't think they'll actually do all that hot on here, and I also want to just go and do like live streams again. I just don't know if it should be done on YouTube or on Twitch, and it's just there's too many fucking things. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for all the love that you've gone and shown me, and it's good to be back. So now, as always, nerds, nerdettes, and gamers, game the fuck on.